Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We've gotten a ton of requests to dig into Cicero, and you've all sent in a treasure trove of sources, so we're going all in. Get ready to go way beyond Cicero as just, Rome's famous orator.
I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah.
Cicero, talk about a life full of drama.
Right. Political intrigue, philosophical debates.
There's been some humor sprinkled in there.
And we're going to get into all of it.
We are.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Born in the 106 BCE. What was it like for Cicero growing up?
Well, his family, they weren't exactly scraping by.
Yeah.
But Cicero wasn't handed anything on a silver platter either.
Right. Not exactly born with a silver scroll. Right?
Exactly, yeah. Arpinum, his birthplace, wasn't exactly Rome. His family was well off, but they weren't Roman aristocracy.
So he was an outsider.
He was what the Romans called a new man.
A new man.
Which meant he had to work even harder, prove himself constantly.
And from what I read, he was driven from a young age. One source mentioned he even served in the military.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which, for someone who became such a renowned speaker, seems, a bit unusual. What's the story there?
Well, you have to remember, military service, it was basically a prerequisite for any young Roman man, especially if they had, political ambitions.
Oh, so it was all part of the plan, even back then.
I think it's safe to say that Cicero was ambitious, and serving under Pompey the Great's father, that's not exactly an entry-level position, is it?
No, not at all. That's like, interning for Julius Caesar.
Right.
But it was in the courtroom where Cicero really found his voice.
Absolutely.
The Sextus Roscius case.
Oh, that's a story.
It's like something out of a movie. This young, unknown lawyer going up against some of the most powerful figures in Rome.
The stakes were incredibly high.
They were. His client was accused of, get this, patricide, murdering his own father.
Which in Roman society,
A serious charge. And Cicero, he not only takes on the case, he wins.
He wins.
This was more than just a legal victory, wasn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. This case, it launched his career. It showed everyone what he was capable of.
The power of his words.
Exactly. He had a knack for captivating an audience, building a case, destroying his opponents with logic and eloquence.
It's almost like this case foreshadowed his whole career. The brilliance, the drama.
Oh, and the political maneuvering. Let's not forget that part.
Right, because this was just the beginning of his journey into the snake pit of Roman politics.
And believe me, late Republic Roman politics, that was a minefield. You had to walk your step every inch of the way.
And to understand those times, I think we need to talk about the major players.
Okay.
Starting with, there's no way around it, the first triumvirate. Just the name, it sounds ominous. What was it about this alliance that made it so, so significant?
Imagine this for a second. Julius Caesar. Military genius, ambitious to a fault.
Okay, I'm with you.
Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome.
Wow.
And of course, our friend, Pompey the Great. Already a celebrated general.
A powerful trio, to say the least.
An understatement. Now, picture these three joining forces.
Okay.
That was the first triumvirate. In 60 BCE, they made a pact, consolidated their power, furthered their own agendas, and, basically changed the course of Roman history.
So they created, like a superpower trio, a political powerhouse.
Exactly. And not everyone was thrilled about this power shift, to say the least.
Especially someone like Cicero, right? With his belief in the law of the Republic.
Oh, he was deeply suspicious of the triumvirate. He saw it as a betrayal of Roman values, a step toward tyranny. He believed in the rule of law, the authority of the Senate, not the rule of three powerful men.
It was like he knew this alliance could spell trouble for the Republic he believed in.
When you look back at Cicero's life, it's hard not to be impressed by his foresight.
He seemed to have a knack for seeing the dangers lurking beneath the surface.
He did. But even Cicero, with all his foresight, couldn't have predicted what was to come.
Because the story, as they say, is about to get a whole lot more complicated.
Oh, yeah.
From a powerful alliance to a conspiracy that would rock Rome to its core. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
From a powerful alliance to a conspiracy that would rock Rome to its core. We're just getting started.
Yeah, we left off with Cicero, deeply suspicious of the first triumvirate.
Right, seeing it as this threat to the Republic, to Roman values.
And it wasn't long after that, this threat to the Republic, it became very real.
This is where we get to the Catiline conspiracy.
Exactly.
And from the sources you sent, this was serious, not just some political gamesmanship.
Oh, this was a full-blown crisis, a genuine threat to the very existence of the Roman Republic.
I mean, when you say crisis, what are we talking about here? Who was Catiline and what was he trying to do?
Lucius Sergius Catilina, he was a disgruntled aristocrat. Twice he had run for consul, and twice he had lost. And he was, let's just say, not a good loser.
So, less about accepting defeat, more about revenge.
Pretty much. He decided to overthrow the whole system, gather up a group of followers, and take Rome by force.
His followers. Who are we talking about here?
Anyone with a grudge, really. Bankrupt aristocrats, veterans who felt cheated out of land, people who just wanted to watch the world burn.
And they were serious about this. This wasn't just talk.
They were plotting uprisings, assassinations. I mean, they even planned to burn down the city.
And is Cicero, as consul, I mean, he must have been public enemy number one.
You could say that again. Catiline saw him as the embodiment of everything he hated about the Roman establishment.
So not only is there a conspiracy brewing, but Cicero is also a target.
Oh, absolutely. There were real fears that Catiline's men were planning to assassinate him. I mean, there's a reason they say Cicero wore armor under his toga to Senate meetings.
He wore armor
under
his toga. Seriously.
He knew the danger was real. He'd been marked for death.
Wow, that's intense. Talk about high stakes. So how did Cicero respond? This wasn't just some war of words, right?
No, it was a fight for survival. For Rome's survival.
And Cicero, he was a man of words, right? That was his weapon.
And he used them masterfully. He gathered intelligence, he rallied his allies, and of course, he gave those famous speeches, the Catiline orations.
Delivered right there in the Senate.
Right in the heart of Roman power. In these speeches, he exposed Catiline's plot in detail. He named names, he called for action. And let me tell you, these weren't just eloquent words, they were a force of nature.
And they worked? I mean, he stopped a coup with his words.
Those speeches were a turning point. They rallied the Senate, they turned public opinion against Catiline, and they forced him to free Rome.
So in a way, Cicero's words, they were his weapons.
They were his shield and his sword. But like any weapon, they could be used for good, or for, well, let's just say less than good.
Because even though he saved the Republic, I'm guessing not everyone was thrilled with how he did it.
Exactly. Cicero, to stop Catiline, he had suspected conspirators arrested and executed, without trial.
He basically took the law into his own hands.
He did. He argued that the situation demanded swift action, that the Republic was at stake, and many people agreed with him. But others saw it as, well, a dangerous overreach of power.
A violation of the very laws he had sworn to uphold.
It's a question that's still debated today. When is it justified to sacrifice individual liberties in the name of security? It's a timeless dilemma.
It really makes you think. And in Cicero's case, all that power, it came with a price, didn't it?
Oh, a steep price.
Because even though he saved the day, he made some powerful enemies along the way.
Enemies who were just waiting for the chance to strike back.
And strike back they did.
They did.
Enter Publius Clodius Pulcher. Now, from what I've read, this guy was trouble with a capital T, right?
Oh, Clodius, he was a piece of work. A tribune of the people with a personal vendetta against Cicero. And he was determined to destroy him.
And destroy him he did, at least for a time. Because Cicero ends up, well, exiled.
Exiled? Can you imagine?
Exile in ancient Rome, that wasn't like a slap on the wrist, was it?
No, it was a fate worse than death for a man like Cicero. Stripped of his citizenship, his property, his right to even set foot in Rome, all because of political maneuvering.
I'm almost Shakespearean. The hero brought low by his enemies.
It's almost poetic, isn't it?
Then more than a little tragic. But even in exile, Cicero, he couldn't stay silent for long, could he?
Oh, Cicero. He was never one to shy away from a good debate, or a good letter-writing campaign, for that matter.
He was a prolific writer, wasn't he?
Oh,
even in exile, his mind was always churning.
Always. Oh, but for Cicero, exile wasn't just a time for reflection. It was a time for plotting his comeback.
We left off with Cicero forced into exile,
Yeah.
stripped of his citizenship, his property, everything.
A brutal punishment. And for a man like Cicero, whose whole life revolved around Rome, whose identity was so intertwined with the city, it was especially devastating.
But even in exile, he never gave up hope of returning, did he?
Not a chance. Cicero was a fighter. He was constantly writing letters, rallying his allies, plotting his comeback, and finally, in 57 BCE, it happened.
He's allowed to return to Rome.
Thanks to the efforts of his supporters, including Pompey the Great, the Senate passed a decree allowing his return.
And how was he received?
It was like a triumphal procession. The people of Rome, they lined the streets, cheering his name. They hailed him as a hero, a savior.
From exile to hero's welcome. It's quite a turnaround.
It is. But even though he was back in Rome, the political landscape had shifted. The first triumvirate was still in control, and Cicero knew he had to tread carefully.
So he couldn't just pick up where he left off.
Not exactly. He tried to find a middle ground, aligning himself with Pompey while still advocating for the traditional values of the Republic.
Trying to walk this tightrope between his principles and the realities of power.
Exactly. And it was during this time, with his political ambitions somewhat sidelined, that Cicero turned his attention to his writing.
And this is where we really see his intellectual depth.
We see a side of Cicero that went beyond the political arena. He wrote philosophical treatises, works on rhetoric, even poetry.
Wait, poetry? Cicero wrote poetry. I have to admit, I didn't see that one coming.
It's true. It wasn't epic poetry in the style of Homer or Virgil. It was more introspective, personal. He explored themes of loss, the passage of time, the human condition.
It's amazing to get this glimpse into his inner life, his thoughts and feelings beyond the political turmoil.
It's a reminder that even the most famous historical figures, they had lives and interests beyond the events that made it into the history books.
And speaking of history books, we can't talk about Cicero without talking about his legacy. His impact wasn't limited to just Roman times, was it?
Not even close. Cicero's ideas, his writings, they've resonated through the centuries. He influenced thinkers, writers, and leaders for generations.
So how did his ideas transcend Roman times?
His writings on rhetoric, for example, they became standard texts for centuries. They weren't just about speaking well, they were about constructing arguments, using logic and evidence, understanding your audience.
It sounds like he laid the groundwork for persuasive communication as we know it, even in our world of tweets and soundbites.
Precisely. And his philosophical works were equally influential. He grappled with questions of ethics, morality, the nature of the good life, ideas that are still relevant today.
It's incredible how we can still learn from someone who lived over 2,000 years ago.
That's the power of ideas. They can transcend time and place. And Cicero's ideas about justice, freedom, the power of language, they're as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome.
It makes you wonder, if Cicero were alive today, what would he think? What would he say about our modern world?
Now that is a fascinating question. Imagine Cicero in our world of instant communication, social media, 247 news cycles. Would he be a voice of reason in the chaos?
Or would he be drowned out by all the noise?
It's hard to say, but knowing Cicero, I have a feeling he would find a way to make his voice heard.
He'd probably have a podcast.
Maybe a whole network. But in all seriousness, Cicero's story is a testament to the power of ideas to change the world.
It's a reminder that the fight for freedom, for justice, it's a timeless struggle. And that even in the face of adversity, even in the face of tyranny, one voice can make a difference.
And that the echoes of that voice can continue to inspire us centuries later.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone beyond the surface level and discovered the man behind the speeches, the thinker, the writer, the human being who, despite his flaws and failures, left an indelible mark on history.
It's been a pleasure exploring these sources with you.
The next time you encounter Cicero, whether it's a quote or a reference, remember the man behind the words. Remember his struggles, his triumphs, and his unwavering belief in the power of ideas. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
Wake up, get up, power in your stride. Own your thoughts, let them be your guide. Stars in the night, they shine just like you. Changes the game, a brand new view. So it's hard, won't be torn apart. Resilient mind, powerful
Detroit. I'm going to send you to college because greatness is upon you. I was 16, 17 years old. I had never spoken a day in my life, and this guy saw it. Like, he saw something in me that I didn't see, and he gave me permission to be where other people said I couldn't be. He gave me permission to believe I was great. He gave me permission to think I could change the world. He gave me permission to start something that had never started in my family before. He gave me permission to say, I am. Listen to me very closely. When you graduate and you get a job, if you want to get paid, you never say no. You never say it can't get done. Don't you ever say out your mouth it can't get done. Even if you feel in your heart it can't get done, you don't say it out loud. You let the broke folks say that. You let the folks they firing first say that. You always say it can get done. Even if you don't think it can get done, just say it and try to make up something. I'm being real. I'm being real. I don't deal with people who say, or they get paid real low in my company. They like maintenance when you say, I don't know how, or I don't think it can be done. I'm like, okay, cool. You won't be like at the end of the year, when bonuses been passed out, you won't be getting no bonus. What I need you to do is I need you to kill the noise. I need you to embrace the I am. And however you get it done, I need you to get it done. They looked at the most successful men and women of the world, and they found that they had like 7, 8 things in common. And one of the things they all had in common was a routine. They are obsessed with their routine. They don't have a gap of wasted time in their routine. You know, I realized the reason why I'm so successful and the reason why I don't get in trouble like I used to when I was younger.
You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. A sword can only be formed once it goes into the fire. Do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. John Wooden. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Get busy living or get busy dying.
Go for it now. The future is promised to no one. Wayne Dyer.
And adheres to the power of love. Warriors are dedicated. They were not only skilled, but also cultured in upholding loyalty and devotion. They aspire to hold both the pen and the sword and be able to retreat to calmness after their challenges are done. Loyalty and devotion lead to bravery. Bravery leads to the spirit of self-sacrifice. The spirit of self-sacrifice creates trust in the power of love. In order to win their battles, warriors must hold the purity of love in their hearts and aim to reach a state of serenity in their mind. Only then can they bring victory to their name. Mental bearing, not skill, is the sign of a matured samurai. A samurai, therefore, should neither be pompous nor arrogant. In order to master the way of the samurai, you must let go of any arrogance. If we are full of conceit, we will lose ourselves in vanity and destroy our strengths instead of our weaknesses. A true warrior knows their weakness and they work to master them. Keep your promises, fulfill your responsibilities, and stay true to your morals and values. Only then will your path of success open to you. In fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined through calm. Meet the situation without tenseness, yet not recklessly. Your spirit settled, yet unbiased. An elevated spirit is weak, and a low spirit is weak. Do not let the enemy see your spirit. Never let your enemies and challenges overcome you.
Is any man so foolish as to fear change, to which all things that once were not owe their being? And what is it that is more pleasing and more familiar to the nature of the universe? How couldst thou thyself use thy ordinary hot baths, should not the wood that heateth them first be changed? How couldst thou receive any nourishment from those things that thou hast eaten, if they should not be changed? Can anything else almost, that is useful and profitable, be brought to pass without change? How then dost not thou perceive that for thee also by death to come to change is a thing of the very same nature, and is necessary for the nature of the universe?
The hardest part is at the beginning of the journey. The rocket loses 90% of its fuel during takeoff. If you want to help yourself, carry the spirit of the child into old age, which means never losing your enthusiasm.
The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. Confucius.
At some point you will realize no one else has a say in your life unless you let them. We humans have two great problems. The first is knowing when to begin. The second is knowing when to stop.
When you stop identifying with your mind, you begin to experience true freedom. Muji.
You want people that are around you that have smiles on their faces, looking good. I was telling a group last week, Abraham Lincoln refused to hire a guy because of his face. They said, but the guy can't help it. He said, anybody over 30 is responsible for their face. If you have some depressing face looking at you every day, it affects your blood pressure. Keep these dead faces away from you. It's contagious. This is serious. So you've got to watch your countenance, watch your face, have an uplifted expression, watch your body posture. All of these things affect you psychically. You got to be the kind of person that you are fearless. Fearless. Folk leave fearless people alone. There's some people walk through a neighborhood and every dog in the neighborhood would bark at them. You owe it to yourself to release your brakes. How many of you have the experience of pulling out of your driveway and you mashed on the accelerator and the car was just going, it couldn't move, and you mashed harder and it couldn't move, and then you discovered you had your emergency brakes on, and then you release those emergency brakes and it goes choo. Have you ever had that experience before? Most of us go through life with our brakes on, holding back, not giving all that we have, not sharing all of ourselves. Most of us go to our graves still holding on rather than releasing it. What are some of those things that keep us from releasing it? Because of past experiences, past defeats, past pain. We look back, well, it didn't work out then. It probably won't work out now.
Behavior. When you hear the phrase kind behavior and expressions of gratitude, you will most likely think of being kind to others and expressing your gratitude for others. While this is extremely useful and beneficial, it is equally important to be kind to yourself and show gratitude to yourself. Numerous studies have shown the positive impact kindness and gratitude have on your mental well-being and quality of life. Activities like keeping a gratitude journal and practicing random acts of kindness help you remember the good in life and help you reflect on positive situations and experiences. Strive to combat criticism with kindness and take control of your life situation. Kindness and gratitude are always options, and you have the choice to demonstrate